Well, you know, in the city of Belfast we spend a lot of time talking about flags and about identity in the past, and those are very important issues, and I talk about them too, but it's as important that we talk about poverty, that we spend time analysing poverty, and I'm very pleased that every party on the Belfast City Council is represented here today, that people from every corner of the city are here, that we have those agencies and charities who are working to stem the tide of poverty. And it's very important to me because, as you know, I have 9 chaplains. It's very important to me that the faith communities are recognised here, because as I travel the city, when I meet those who are working with the vulnerable, the sick, the lonely, the homeless, I always meet the faith communities. They are there day and daily in the hostels, in the food banks, trying to give practical, concrete assistance to those who find themselves hungry, without shelter, without work. And it's important that we recognise that today, but they're joining with everyone else as well, particularly those like ourselves who have the power to make the investments, to give people the skills, to create the jobs, hopefully, which can lift us and lift our citizens who are at the bottom of the ladder, lift them out of poverty. All in all, our people are hit by a triple whammy. Austerity policies being driven from London, welfare reform, so-called, which is really an attack on the least well-off, and also the worst economic recession in living memory. We're coming out of it, but those who were weakest, those who were poor already, were hit hardest by this. So we have to measure the success of this by better collaboration between our agencies and charities and government, but also by lifting people out of poverty. And a key part of that is we need to ensure that the £250 million Belfast City Council intends to spend on new capital projects, we have really strong social clauses to provide work for the long-term unemployed, and that jobs too are used to lift people out of poverty.
Well, over a year ago, we wrote to all of the party leaders in the City Hall, proposing that the Council show leadership on the issue of tackling poverty in the city by establishing an anti-poverty forum and an anti-poverty task force. Unfortunately, at that time, believe it or not, a number of the party leaders, particularly on the Unionist side, refused to support the establishment of such a forum, of such a drive to try and tackle poverty in the city. Because Máirtín was taken over as the mayor from June of last year, it was an opportunity for us to, if you like, on his initiative, to establish a forum. So we have contacted hundreds of organisations across the city that are working on a cold face to tackle poverty, tackle deprivation. They attend the forum. This is the start of a series of discussions about working out how are we together working with those organisations who are working on the ground, and ourselves as a political party, but also Belfast City Hall as an institution. How are we made together tackle poverty in the city? We know that poverty is a scourge in this city. At a time when there is still on one side extreme wealth in the city, but on the other side we have people who are living on the streets. That's not good enough. It was Sinn Féin who took this initiative. It was Sinn Féin who took the initiative to try and establish a forum where we could bring all of the various government departments together, including Belfast City Hall. Today we've had Jennifer McCann, who's a junior minister in DFM, was here speaking on behalf of OFM DFM. Ourselves, of course, in City Hall, but also a broad range of government departments and a very broad range of organisations that are working on a daily basis to try and tackle and to eradicate poverty in the city. We recognise the most important thing that we can do to contribute to any strategy, any plan to try and tackle poverty is first and foremost is to create jobs. February last year, this council, for the first time in its history, launched a £150 million investment fund, an investment strategy. A significant proportion of that investment is targeted at those deprived communities. We also intend this year to launch a second phase of that investment strategy with a £105 million investment in new leisure facilities across the city. Again, concentrating investment in those communities that have experienced the highest levels of unemployment across generations. So we are doing something very practical to make a contribution to tackling and eradicating poverty. But we recognise, of course, that we can't do it by ourselves. But we do want to give leadership. What we want to come out of today is an agreement to continue the dialogue, but also to start beginning to identify what really needs to be done over and above what is already being done to eradicate poverty. There's a huge amount of good work being done, of course, by a whole range of organisations, but clearly not enough is being done. There's not enough resources being put to this issue. It's not being prioritised enough, and there are clearly gaps, and there's a lack of cooperation across government departments. That's why Sinn Féin took this initiative. That's why our Mayor, Máirtín is leading this initiative. And even when Máirtín steps down in June of this year, we will continue to insist that Belfast City Council gives the type of leadership that's required in this city to ensure then going forward that we do much more to try and tackle the scourge of poverty in our city.